Bro, the fact that the Big Ten coaches hopped on a Zoom and said, "Man, we need some shit to happen."
Yeah, it's pretty wild that it was. I saw that Harbaugh was on it, and then he ended
They
up.
kicked him off.
They ended up getting off after the normal whatever they had to talk about, and then they just went in and just started trashing Michigan. But to be honest, though, like I could see the Big Ten not doing anything. We just
I
started.
wouldn't.
Shaun Crawford with co-host Carl Jones. We got a great episode for you. We're talking nothing but football today, college football specifically. We're talking Notre Dame. We're talking the Michigan scandal. We talk Syracuse, and we also talk college football playoffs and just the rankings in general. But I could see the Big Ten not doing anything because Michigan might go to the playoffs, and that might be a nice little check for the Big Ten. So I can see them not, they're gonna collect the check first, and then maybe in the off season we could figure something out. We could be like, oh, okay, like we can vacate wins, do all that thing, but the check's still gonna clear. So that's the only thing that I see about this season, because it's like, yes, evidence, like, but like that doesn't necessarily tell you that they were legitimately recording and doing all those things, because I mean it's some good evidence out there now, but trial
It
don't
takes
end
time.
yeah, right.
Like anything else, it takes time. You feel me? Like when do we find this out? Mid October or something like that? No, my
but
bad.
the,
Early
but the
October.
but the thing is about now being public is that these coaches are talking about they've known about it for a couple years now. So it's like you can see how long that took to now. Okay, now it's finally public. Where it's like it's still Michigan. Like they gonna have the best lawyers, support team, whatever it is that they need to go to bat with the NCAA, Big Ten, whatever it may be. Like they gonna have they team ready. So, and then you also talk about Harbaugh. I think they said that they rescinded the updated contract or making him the highest paid contract, but I heard that was just a rumor that they are actually going to offer him that contract. So it's like, if you got the university behind Harbaugh and what he doing, and then the program, the boosters, the donors, they winning now. So it's like, hey, here he say he what is it? He say she say. That's all it is right now. So I don't really like. I mean, not being a Michigan fan, it's just like, oh, cool, you want to see him like crash and burn. But at the end of the day, it's just like it's gonna take time. It's Michigan. Um, they're not gonna go down easy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's my whole thing on the Michigan case, because there was a video that just came up about, or Stallions was at the Notre Dame game in 2019. The game we got blown out. Like I don't even remember the exact score. Let me look.
I remember that one. I was talking cash. I remember that one.
But it was like, yeah, we got blown. It was 45-14. We didn't score. We scored 14 in the second half. 7 in both quarters. But to me, that was just someone DM me or someone tweeted me and was like, "Yo, do you think this had any effect on the game at all? Being that you played in the game." And I'm like, "Nah, we just got our asses kicked. Like it wasn't." I didn't think they did anything special. On defense or on offense. I think it was hailing. Michigan is a ground and pound team. They're very physical up front. And I would say the weather played into what they do as a team, but also like there were plays that 101 tackles we missed, 101 plays in the end zone that we didn't come down with. So it's just like you look at it like that, and it's like, yeah, I mean they could have known a couple of our plays. They could have schemed it up perfectly on defense. But at the end of the day, like it was some plays out there where it was just like I said, 101 tackles getting broke, like dudes getting jumped over, dudes getting mossed. Like it just didn't go our way that game. And so that's my answer to that question. Because at the end of the day, it's football. Like you could always, like Deion said, you could put a person in the right position, but at the end of the day, you still got to make a play. And over a course of a game, if you always in the right position, yeah, you're gonna make a play. But it was just that specific game. It's like we came out the gate, we were flat. The weather, we wasn't rocking with the weather. We was on a road, and it was just like they just got after us early. And at that point, it was just like, yeah, we just got our asses kicked. I'm gonna take that one on the chin. But I mean, if they can't give us the win back or whatever they would do, but like if they even came out and said, oh, like this was found cheating at the end of the day. But So it don't matter. We got our butts kicked, and because we blew them out the year before. So it was like they was like, okay, none of this. Next year we got something for their ass. So that unless they made that decision that the next year, then I don't know. But everything say it started in 2021.
Yeah, I think two things can be true at once with this Michigan thing, and you playing, you know this as well. Is sign stealing a thing? And this is really for the people at home. 100%. Everyone to some extent does it. I know when we were playing, Clemson was like the one school that everyone was like, "All right, make sure y'all change y'all signals for Clemson week because they gonna know some of y'all stuff." I remember that verbatim. That whole week, we changed our whole signs for Clemson, but it wasn't like they had like this crazy, well thought out plan of getting our signs. From what I heard, they were just reaching out to other coaches, TV copies. That's how they were getting signals. So I have no issue with that. I mean, if that's the way you want to get it, ain't no different than baseball when a pitcher tips his own pitches and the dude on second base relays it to the batter. Like I get it, all that type of stuff. We did it ourselves. I know that sometimes you look across the way and you're like, wait a second, they keep doing this. That got to be some player, something like that, right? So that's cool. But apparently, what Michigan was doing, and this athletic article that came out yesterday is a good read for those at home. You should watch it, read it. Bruce Feldman. Michigan took it too far. Like they was out here buying tickets on the opposite sideline of the team they was playing down below with a nice view of the people and video recording it on their phone. That's OD. Like that's crazy because now you're over here. You're going beyond a competitive advantage. That's just blatant cheating. Like that's some Spygate New England Patriots type vibe stuff where it's like, come on, like what are we doing here? So do I think it's the worst crime on the planet? Like, no, I think flat out paying for players might be a little bit worse. But is it a competitive advantage for sure? And I don't think it's like a 30-point gap. Is Michigan still beating the hell out of every team they play this year? Yeah, their schedule is trash. Like, of course. But I do think it matters on the margins. Like, for example, some of those clips where it's like 3rd and 8 or whatever, and Ohio State signals in they're doing a strong safety blitz. Well, then now if I know that they're doing some type of blitz, then we know the exact look that we're getting into, and now we can hit them and exploit it that way. So, like, is it some massive gap where Michigan is going to blow you out? No. You still got to be able to tackle, still got to catch the damn ball. I mean, shoot, Ohio State fans, y'all need to be quiet because a couple years ago, Aiden Hutchinson, it didn't matter if he knew the play or not. He was just blowing over y'all tackles, like point blank, period. So it matters on the margins to me, like a 7 to 10 point swing, nothing crazy, no 30-point difference like you alluded to earlier.
And that's the thing. What even I saw was the Ohio State play. It was 2nd and 9 on like Michigan's 15, and whatever they signal to play in. Stallion tells the DC run right, and then immediately I guess both safeties crash down hard. And obviously we don't know what the safeties are taught. In that situation, we don't know if it was a down and distance thing, if it was a pre-snap look. We don't know, but I do know that playing safety against, or I don't know, but playing safety against a good NFL quality quarterback and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Buka and all just Stover, whoever else is capable of catching passes for Ohio State, is that as a safety, we do not crash that hard on 2nd and 9. But like those are like things that like you scratch your head at. Like it's not something that is just blatant. Like, oh my gosh, this is the example A of cheating. It's just that like, I probably wouldn't do that again. Like, okay, you got away with it, it worked, but I probably wouldn't continue to do that if I was a secondary or if I was a defensive back or just defensive coordinator in general. So it's like I see that's what you see. You see a lot of like plays where it's just like that don't really follow football, but it worked. And it's one thing we always say is like you never wrong when you're right. And that's one of those things. Like you got two safeties crashing down on 2nd and 9 with Marvin Harrison out there putting your corners on an island. You're never wrong when you're right, but so it's I'm gonna just say the whole situation is fishy. It ain't clear cut yet, but it's just fishy. We're gonna put it in a, if it was a pot of guilty, not guilty, I don't know, but in the middle is fishy, and that's what it is right now. So
my last thing about this, though, and I do think this is the most fishy part of it all. You know this as well as anybody. The head coach really only talked to a few people on game, like when he's in the game. if the DC or OC's down there on the field with him, a couple position coaches. But I promise you, Brian Kelly, Dino Babers was not talking to the lowest level staffer in the middle of the game on 3rd and 8. I promise you, Dino Babers ain't never do that a day. I know our low level staffers. They was out there, doing dummy signals. I promise you, he is not talking to Babers and Babers talk. So like that's the one where you see those videos where Harbaugh is listening to Mr. Stallions, who is a low level staffer from Michigan, on 3rd and whatever. So that's where I'm like, y'all can act like he was like some lone wolf, and maybe he started off as a lone wolf, but y'all definitely brought bro on and was like, you know what, he kind of valuable. He brings something to the table. So that was the evidence where I'm like, wait a second. I know what the head coach do on game day. He kind of locked in. He ain't listening to him.
I do want to touch on that Clemson point you made earlier. We played Clemson 2020, beat them in the regular season, played them in the playoffs. I mean, in the ACC championship. And bro, I swear to you, they knew everything. We ain't, and this is our fault though. This is really our fault because we ain't changed up a single thing. Same cause, whatever. And then it turned out to bite us in the butt. But I'm just saying, like, when we played them, they knew every single thing that we was doing, at least as far as on defense. And it looked like it on offense too, because we wasn't really doing much of anything on offense. But I remember one specific play. Now, Trevor Lawrence, I'm gonna give him his credit. He studied. He know what he's doing. But it was one play, and we shifted to it as well. Like it wasn't even like we lined up in it. So like we was playing. It was like dime or something. We was playing like I was playing deep half. I just know that. And we ended up we started in the first look. I think it was like cover 4, showing cover 4. And then we like shifted to it, moved to it. Immediately he checked. He looked to the sideline. He checked with his receivers. Checked with the receiver. Boom, boom, boom. Shifted it, whatever. He called hike. They run a dig. Boom, catch the ball, touchdown. We're gonna have to find that play because the way it just happened. Like when I'm rotating to deep, I'm like moving to deep half, and I'm just seeing it all like unfold in front of me. Like, okay, check. He dropped back. He hit this dig. Keep going. Touchdown. I'm like, wow. I literally like Trevor Lawrence really just dialed that up. And after that play, I was just like, yeah, I mean, they got us on this one. But that was credit to Clemson. Like I don't think they recorded our signals or whatever. But it was just like some teams do make adjustments. Some teams don't make adjustments. And it's like, who's to say that Ohio State hasn't changed? Like they've had the same coordinator, same quarterback room, all these receiver room, all these different coaches on the offensive side. They've been there, so it's like who's to say they haven't changed up their signals yet and things like that. But that's my little piece on the signal stealing dilemma that's going on, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna say Clemson stole our signals and they died, and it showed that game. So if everybody's stealing signals, Clemson stole signals. But
I feel you on that. Everyone was still in Syracuse signal. That's why I got all the losses I got.
Yeah, we may as well touch on that right now before we get into the Notre Dame topic. We got the Syracuse flag behind you. Virginia Tech loss this past weekend wasn't great. Even you had a former quarterback come out and talk about the team, talk about the performance that they had this past weekend. Even mention talk about the coach a little bit for our listeners, and then just your audience as well. Touch on that subject a little bit more and give some more details into that.
I'm going to preface it by saying always riding with the orange through thick and thin. They're my boys. Love them to death, right? Having said all of that, the past 4 weeks ain't been pretty, man. I mean, we've been outscored 150-34. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if the schedule was Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and then Michigan. At some point, like, I need you to compete. And
Syracuse offense is usually good.
That was that, and I think that's the concerning part is with the offensive-minded head coach, some talent on that side of the ball for sure. Garrett Schrader is a veteran quarterback, dual threat. Got some guys on the outside. I know we did lose Rondé Gasson early on in the year, but still got some guys behind him who can make plays, or you think can make plays, right? And you know what? You lose to Clemson at home, they're better than you. You know what? It is what it is. But then you follow that up with, I think they played North Carolina next, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? Drake made that boy. You know what? I get it. And we wasn't competitive, but you know what? Shell Shack against Drake May. Cool, whatever. Florida State, they about to make a playoff. But we wasn't competitive, but you know what? Whatever. But this past week is where we got to draw the line in the sand, and that's where some things got to change because getting blown out at VTech, I know Lane Stadium is some crazy place to play Thursday, whoop-de-woo, whatever. But that was just, as an alum, that hurt to see, man. And I know those players are very passionate. They put a lot of hard work in, or the coaching staff as well. But something got to change, and it starts this week with Boston College because I promise you, if a similar result happens at BC, it's going to be some heads rolling, and it's not going to be pretty. If y'all thought what Eric Dungy said after the VTech loss was bad, wait till you lose to a rival. So this Friday night will tell a lot, man. And we need to make it's crazy. A month ago, we 4-0. I'm talking cash. I'm like, oh, yeah, 8-9 wins. Let's go. Camping World Bowl. Forget the pinstripe. Now it's looking like we were happy to go to a pinstripe bowl, man. So not pretty. I mean, it is what it is at this point, man. I mean, the landscape of college football, I'm just hoping we won't get left behind, but that's a topic for another day. We just got to make sure we end this season all right, man, because Pitt got to be a win. BC got to be a win. Wake got to be a win. Then we got G-Tech, too, although G-Tech took down Miami. They ain't sweet either. So regardless, we got to change shit, man, because this shit ain't been pretty.
Yeah, y'all could definitely go on a 4-win streak, though, to end the season off. I could see it. Pitt, not that good.
I can see it, but damn, losing by 30 to VTech, what the fuck? I mean, excuse my French, but what the damn? Like, come on, bro. Like, it's hurting. It's hurting. It's hurting.
You got BC's tomorrow, Friday?
It's Friday, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm not gonna say the whole country watching, but it's opportunity for the whole country to be watching. It's either that or high school football. So I'm gonna choose BC and Syracuse. So this is gonna be my first Syracuse game that I sit down and watch. But I mean, hopefully for y'all win. But BC got some dogs. They go there. One thing about BC, they always gonna rep the brand. They always gonna be physical, and they gonna compete. And I saw them. I haven't watched much BC this year, but I did watch a second half of Florida State game. They got some talent. They beat themselves with penalties that game. They low-key should have won, but the talent is there, and I don't know who the coach is for BC, but if he got any animosity against Babers, he might try to put it on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Jeff Hafley. I think he's still there. I think he was the old Ohio State DB coach, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he got them boys playing hard. That quarterback can scoot too. He was scooting on Florida State.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the ESPN2 Friday night game. I mean, last week was an ESPN game, and we got embarrassed in front of the whole country.
Yeah, you gotta go on the dose. Yeah, you be careful now. Y'all might you might go to ESPN Espanol.
They put us on Deportes? No, they can't do that, bro.
Oh, it's Deportes. Yeah,
no, they can't. But on a better note, before I get an aneurysm and go crazy here, the rankings came out and the Fighting Irish was 15. Y'all 15? Y'all looking smooth? Like, well, what's the vibe to this point, and what do you think the rest of the season gonna turn out like for y'all?
I mean, you look at our two losses, and you lose to Ohio State, you lose to Louisville, both night games. I wish the Louisville game we got beat. Like we got our butts kicked. It ain't even nothing to say that one. It's just Louisville came ready to play. Stadium was lit. It was everything, and we got beat that day. As far as Ohio State, I mean, it hurts because it's just like one that you're supposed to have. Even if you win that one, you lose to Louisville. There's still some undefeated teams out there, so I won't say they top 4, but like you 6, 7, 5, even 5 maybe. And now the season looking completely different because then you look at our rest of our schedule. We got Clemson, we have Wake Forest, and we have Stanford. So we even got a bye in there as well. And so with that schedule, that remaining schedule, and the bye, and no conference championship, it's like, ooh, if we could get that Ohio State one back, I mean, we sitting comfy, and I could see the committee being like, oh, they got the one loss, whatever. They might not get in. They don't play a conference championship. Whoop-de-whoop. But I think the Notre Dame brand will outweigh all that. They'll put Notre Dame in at 4. And that's where our season could be. Now, back to reality, it's like we do have the 2 losses. We got 3 games remaining in November. And I would say November is usually for college football is the toughest part of the season for most teams, most conferences. But this year, the way it's shaped out, Clemson didn't. I mean, still Clemson, but it's not the normal Clemson that we're used to. and Stanford is not to the level that they're used to being as well. So this the schedule of November turned out to be very favorable for us. And so good and bad. Good meaning that we should win all the games. Bad meaning we probably won't get any love from the college football rankings for those wins. And so I could see us like if continuing to win out. I could see us, get into a New Year's Six bowl. Um, and I think there's something. I don't know who we would play, but I think when that leads into a positive off season because you go from last year. I think it was 5 losses, 4 losses or 5 losses. One of them I forget, but it was either 4 or 5 losses. And so you the next year you come back, you don't beat Ohio State, but you're right there. You continue on. You have a night game against Duke. You win that one. That was a tough game on the road against Duke because Duke is a good program this year. Which it hasn't been fluke. And then you have another night game against Louisville. You lose that one. So it's like, okay, like now when we go into the offseason, we maybe got to prepare our guys a little bit better to finish in tough environments, maybe. And so that's the only thing that I would say, like going into the offseason or where we are right now, because now it's like we playing a all right bowl last year. We get the win, get some momentum. Now we come back. We got a good seat. We got a good schedule lined up for us to potentially make the playoffs. We lose 2. Okay, we went out. We good. Come back the next season, and now it's that year. It's year 3 with Freeman at the head, and so everything is trending up. How Syracuse is trending down, Notre Dame is trending in the right direction. And I don't say like it's trending up, meaning like we haven't been to the playoffs and things like that, but it's trending up for the Freeman era. And that's what you want to see when you get a new coach. You want to see him. He obviously gonna have his bumps and bruises. He got to get everything going, his way, and then bring his people in, his players, all that different stuff. It's gonna take time. And so I expect next year. Like I haven't looked at the schedule. I know we got Texas A&M on the road week 1 at Texas A&M. And that brings me to my point. You talk about playing in hostile environments and being able to finish in hostile environments. I haven't been to Texas A&M, but I've seen it on TV, seen pictures, seen whatever. And I know that's going to be a hostile environment. So I just want to continue to see our team, our guys, fight. I think we should dominate the rest of our schedule. Don't even make it close. I like what they did against Pitt, but continue to dominate our schedule. Don't make it close. And then, get into a bowl game. Hopefully we fall into New Year's Six. We haven't had a New Year's Six win in I don't know how long. So I think starting there is going to be great for our fan base, getting that New Year's Six win and then heading into the postseason. But I think 15 right now is good. Is I think is where we should be. From the teams we beat. I can't like name any teams that we Duke is probably our best legitimate win so far in the season. But outside of that, I like where it's trending. Can't ask for much. We got 2 L's.
I was gonna mention the that 4-game stretch y'all had was low key like college teams ain't supposed to have a stretch like that. Like that's
Ours?
not like college teams not really supposed to have a stretch like that.
Yeah, no, that was the thing where people were saying like, and I feel like people didn't start saying it until
The Louisville loss.
Not even the Louisville loss. People didn't start saying it until Duke beat Clemson, which was early into the season. But because when you look at the schedule, it's like Ohio State, and then I think it was Duke, then Louisville, and then a bye week maybe after that. But or it was probably one more USC and then bye week.
Yeah.
But people who didn't look at that, I didn't look at it. Let me say I didn't look at it and was like, oh, this is a tough schedule. This is a tough stretch. Because when I look at it, we got Ohio State, tough game, obviously. We got Duke, it's Duke. We got Louisville, it's Louisville. And then we got USC. It's like, okay, we got some games in between that we got to win. And, like, who's expecting Louisville to be undefeated at that point? No one. Who's expecting Duke to be undefeated at that point? No one. So it's like preseason when I look at the schedule, it's like, okay, like, yeah, it's tough. And they talked about our AD. They were like, how could our AD schedule this and not put a bye week in there? We haven't lost an ACC game And I think I don't forget, I don't know the exact numbers, but we had an exact win streak of ACC games. So it's like when he's probably going over the schedule, he's looking at, oh, Duke is Duke. He's looking at Louisville. Okay, we could get Louisville. It's to me, it was just probably like that, and it was like, okay, let's schedule these games, put some two ACC opponents that we usually beat, are capable of beating, in between Ohio State and USC. And so that's kind of how I saw it. But now when Duke go get a win against Clemson, they like, okay, because I saw it on Twitter. They were like, oh wow, the Duke game right after Ohio State's going to be crazy, and then Louisville's winning. And Louisville's like, oh, and then it becomes a night game, and it's like, oh wow, the Louisville game after the Duke game is going to be something crazy. And then they like, obviously, you got USC and Ohio State, but it's just like it's been something that we didn't necessarily expect. So now, I think as people are watching and as people are adjusting, it's like, dang, like how could you put him through that 4 week stretch, 5 week stretch? But I think it wasn't expected because I mean, as you know, it's like you don't expect Louisville and Duke to be able to beat Notre Dame in any year. So it's tough. I don't really know what to say about it. I was like, if schedule came out and you got to play it, you play it, and then you go beat the teams that's on it. If you really need a bye week that bad, because our bye week always came always came at fall break. So it's not like, and it still came on fall break. So it's not like the AD or the team or whoever do the scheduling was like, okay, let's hold off on our bye week. But our bye week always comes on fall break or around fall break. So it's like that's just the way the schedule laid out. And honestly, no one told us to go to Ireland week 0 and play that game. So it's we cannot play week 0, and now the guys got an extra week of rest. So, but people, I'm sure, enjoyed Ireland and the W there. So, it's a bunch of stuff you could say.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to say though, and you're right about all that. I do think when people talk about like these tough games in a row, and I can't believe I'm about to defend Notre Dame here. And if they were in the playoff picture, I think this was something that what the committee would bring up. But since they're not, you expect at this point it won't be brought up. But that's college teams aren't really equipped to play 4 or 5 tough games in a row because they're damn kids. Like the attention span of someone to be locked in prime time week in, week out for 4 weeks in a row, that's just not attainable. Even the prime SEC, they were not playing on prime time 4 weeks in a row. I promise you that. The Citadel was in there some in there mixed up. I promise you Vandy was in there a couple times, like or Missouri when they had a couple lean years. When you got to play 4 prime time games back to back to back, kids just that's some NFL stuff. You know how the NFL is any given week, and every game is a big block whoop-de-whoop. Kids don't do that. I mean, Michigan, they got 2 tough games this year, and one is I think in 1 week, and another one is at the end of November. Ohio State got 3. Notre Dame, I mean, I guess you want to call Wisconsin a tough game, sure, but like none of these games are in a span like that. So by nature, kids ain't always locked in. I mean, shit, I know for a fact when even us, Syracuse, when we got Clemson on the schedule, we still looking ahead of Clemson, even though we got a game that we might not win and it's pit in front of us or something like that. So the fact that you got those tough games in a row, Duke, I know maybe not their record don't look good now, but Riley Leonard got hurt in a Notre Dame game, so that hurt. They're kind of tanked their season to a certain extent. So that tough stretch is not easy for college kids. It's just not because kids don't do it. Like I think USC is about to go through something right now, and I'm about to pray for them because they ain't been playing well regardless. So I think they got they got Washington, Oregon. I think Oregon State, like they got a tough stretch, and kids just asking 18 to 23-year-olds to be locked in every single week, easier said than done. There's a reason why teams don't go undefeated.
And that's also another thing is it's a privilege too, because it's like you look at it at that point and from a fan perspective is dang, like why are these kids going through this? Like why is Notre Dame, getting put on primetime week in, week out? But it's just like if Freeman's coming into my house, Mickens is coming into the coaches coming into my house, and they lay it out for me, and they say, how many times you want to play in front of on national television? How many times you could be from South Carolina or whatever. How many times you want your friends to see you play? How many times you want your family to see you play? Girlfriend, whatever it may be. It's like, well, last year we had Ohio State on prime time. We had Louisville. We had Duke. We had USC, and I'm sure we're gonna have some NBC. And so you talk about those games, not at night, but that's primetime television. Millions of viewers, and so that's something that I know sold me when I was sitting in front of Coach Kelly, sitting in front of these coaches when they were like, every game's gonna be on if every home game's gonna be on NBC, and you also gonna have the opportunity to have the prime time games as well. So it's like it's pressure for sure, but it's also a privilege. And I think this year after that Duke game, I saw a lot of fight from our guys. I could tell they were tired. 33 missed tackles in a game. You're tired. Because it ain't. I mean, it ain't. You know how to tackle. By this time of the season, the veterans on the defense, like they know how to tackle. I'm gonna just say that they was tired. So you got to chalk it up to something. But it's just like even looking at that, it's just like. And then the Louisville game, like it was just bound to happen. And then they got some energy back. They got motivated and they came out and beat USC. But it's tough. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna say it's the privilege of Notre Dame and to all recruits out there. Like that's what you sign up for. That's the opportunity that you have in front of you, and you can go to the Big Ten and play at noon, play on Big Ten Network. You can go to the SEC and play on the SEC Network, play at 3:30, whatever time they play. ACC, go on ACC Network, they play at noon, 3:30. Or you go to Notre Dame. We always play at 3:30. We used to play at 2:30. That was clutch. I don't know what happened. Maybe the NBC Peacock Big Ten deal messed it all up, but now it's 3:30 on NBC or you prime time. So it ain't. I mean, and you got to get one Peacock game in. I feel the money talk. So I feel that. But we outside of the Peacock game, baby, they in Hawaii, the Bahamas, wherever they at, they can watch you play. They can watch you get down. So that's all I got. That's what I'm gonna say about that. I try to never. I feel like I always side with the players. I always side with the team, but I feel like some things it's just like because if I was playing in that moment, it's like I love primetime games. I love them on the road too because it's like you already know your people back at the crib can watch. That's cool. But like at Notre Dame or wherever you're from, like that's cool. But now being able to go into somebody else's stadium Saturday night, and you already know they're gonna give their best because they're playing against Notre Dame, and being able to come out there with a victory, like bro, there's nothing better than that feeling right there. And so I always look forward to it. I know these dudes look forward to it, and hopefully they got some more. Probably not Clemson. Nah, they don't have any more primetime games this year. So big New Year's 6, we'll see. So.
Hey, yeah. On a lighter note, you're right. Y'all do play in prime time in the Big Ten. Money talks. I get it. I'm sure the ratings bear this out, but I'm tired of watching these noon kickoff from these Big Ten big games. And next year when they get Oregon, USC, and Washington next year. Well, no, actually, I don't think they're gonna have USC playing noon a lot, so maybe that won't be an issue. But regardless, if I have now, granted, the game ended up not being that great, so I guess Ohio State, Penn State at noon wasn't the worst thing in the world. But come on, can we get some more 3:30 and 7 p.m. starts back in college football, baby? I'm tired of seeing Joel and Gus at noon. Like Gus just woke up, he ain't even ready. Like
that's
like I need Gus.
We're wasting talent. We're wasting talent.
But put Gus at night. You feel me? I'm trying to get lit before I go to the bars and hear Gus over here lit talking about some. You got barbecue back there and you ain't invited. Like, come on, noon. I just woke up. I'm not really ready to hear all that yelling. 7 to 8. I'm locked in.
Continue to subscribe, like, comment, share Varsity House Podcast on all social platforms. Continuing to grow, continuing to share stories of the individuals that we cheer for, the individuals that we highlight every weekend. And so as we continue to shine light on their stories, give them a platform to share their stories, speak their voice. We appreciate your support, and we continue to ask that you always show love, repost, share, do what you got to do on your side of the things, and we'll continue to deliver great content on our side. This is Varsity House Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Shaun Crawford, co-host Carl Jones.